And welcome back to the Dad Bod Podcast with Corey. Today I bring to you part three of my interview with Maggie. Truly hope you guys have enjoyed this and also enjoy what we talk about today. Like I said, she is really an incredible human being and just wants to see everyone love each other. And I think we need more of that in the world. So I'll bring her to you after this. Thank you guys very much.
In the afternoon, I'm not running with a gun. One, I'm not looking up state laws. Two, like it's really heavy and I don't need any more. Yeah, I mean, like, man, I got like tiny shorts and sports bra.
Like that's not a sports bra kind of accessory. Like
yeah, and it's just I've calculated the cost benefit, and it's not, And he like got to the patronizing point of like, you need a weapon, and then he drove on. Later on, I saw him drive by and he was like scoping out the route for me, which you would think like, oh, that's very nice, except for he came back and it was like lecturing me about why I was being unsafe going into the city and that I was fine out there because the good old boys, that was a separate, that the good old boys would come help me out if I ever needed it. But I got to be crazy when I get to Baton Rouge because those boys aren't so good. And I continued, one, you're staying way too close to me. Your Confederate flag hat tells me that I am at a threat. And you're telling me all this while you're staring at my chest. Like, I'm not threatened there. I'm threatened here now. Like it was just this weird dichotomy of being very frustrated and being like all the things that nobody says, all the quiet things that nobody says, And I'm like, this is, and every time I've been in the South, especially in the South, anytime I've been in any of the bad neighborhoods, not a single issue. And, that part frustrates me. And there was another day, maybe a couple days, and it was pretty in the morning, 7 a.m. or so. And I was running and I came across probably 3 or 4 men, and I was in a good mood because it was the start of the run. And good morning. And none of them said anything to me. And they were kind of rude, all black men, all older. And they were all kind of rude. And I was like, God, I'm saying hello. I'm like, you're not even, okay, fine, whatever. I'm like running and I'm listening to Sing Unburied Sing, which is this great, great story, a great novel. And I'm listening to the story about the torture and murder of a man accused of raping a white woman. He didn't do it. But, and I'm listening to this thinking how horrible. And at the same time, how rude, these men didn't even say hello to me. And it was like, I stopped running. I was like, holy shit, Maggie, you idiot. Like, you're mad that they didn't say hi to you while you're like feigning outrage because black men were hung for whistling at white women. That's why they probably didn't say hi to you. Like, because this didn't happen. This wasn't 100 years ago. Emmett Till would still be alive today. He'd be like my grandpa. He'd actually be, I think it's my dad's age, maybe a slightly older. But it's like, oh my God, like, dude, nobody is obligated to say hello to you. It doesn't matter how friendly you are. Like, no, you're not entitled to anyone's friendliness.
You're not owed someone stopping their
stuff.
Right.
And two, I imagine all of those men at some point were told, do not talk to white women. And 3, maybe he just sees me as an asshole that, like living in a segregated South, and that's okay too. Like, I'm not that person, but like, who am I to be offended by by your experiences? I'm offended by your experience. They didn't threaten me. They didn't curse at me. They didn't yell at my butt, like, which is more than I can say for other people. But, here I was like jogging along, like, I don't understand why people don't like me. Like, and it was like one of those things of how much running is one of those things that I love, and it brings me all sorts of diverse people. And I've always said, like, my nonprofit is non-political by, has to be. And now I've always said, like, running shouldn't be political, but I'm like, but it is, because life is political for people.
And before I know I've kept you a long time because there's something I do want to cover specifically with this. And I had this conversation even recently with a gentleman who I'm interviewing for this film that I was like, I'm going to come back to you when I'm doing what it's like to be a black runner. And I said, so you walk into your running store, like, and now I'm going to speak in absolute. All across America, we walk in a running store, and there's Runner's World, Runners, all these running magazines. There's all these shoes. There's all these marketing things up on the wall, all of them. none of them are people with color unless they're an elite athlete who's won something. Because that's the thing. If you're a black elite athlete and you haven't won anything, nobody gives a damn about you. Like, you got to win something. Okay, so there's that. Not true for a white elite runner, because a lot of our heroes are people that haven't won anything, or they hadn't won anything until recently, but we loved them. And I said, okay, you go to pick up your running magazine and you flip through it. And there's, whether it's a trail magazine, whether it's a track magazine, whether it is an endurance magazine, whether it is an obstacle course racing magazine, what don't I see when I'm flipping through those pages? I don't see anyone with my skin color. I go to a race where it's me and 15 to, depending on your size of your race, 15 to 40,000 of your closest friends. And I was having this conversation with him, and he lives in Connecticut. And I said, it's amazing to me. And I've talked with friends of mine that are in Black Men Run in Louisville. And I said, it amazes me I can go to a race that has 15,000 people, and I might see 200 black dudes. But all I'm ever being beaten over the head with virtually and verbally is how running is this inclusive sport. And it's for everyone. It's not. It's not marketed that way. And because see, I am not nearly as articulate as you, so I'm going to use some bad words, but I always call it hashtag small dick energy. And it's the people, but it's what you said. It's the people that fear admitting their privilege, because now they have to, like, everyone wants to be rooting on crap. And so if you admit privilege, which again, I'm with you. I don't think, like, they can exist together. Like they can. Like, privilege is still only going to get you so far. There's still hard work to get you there, but don't just act like you pulled yourself from the ground. And so I feel like there is a, and I'll get shit for this. I don't care. I think there is an active effort to not include people of color in the running community, because there becomes that fear of what you just talked about when you ran, when there were white men you dealt with in the South, is suddenly we're taking over. And suddenly it's like now, and I say that because if you ever saw an insurgence, and if I'm wrong, I'll be the first person to say I'm wrong. If you saw an insurgence of people, and I've seen it at races where there were more people of color because of what they were geared towards, it's amazing that at a 5K that is mostly people of color, how much of a police presence I've ever seen. As opposed to the marathons I've run that have had 5 times as many people, but they've got like 6 police officers out of 26.2 miles. So I think it's done on purpose. But transitioning to what I want to talk about Run Free. Because, like, that's pretty damn awesome. By the way, you missed my state. You went under to Tennessee. I need you to come up to Kentucky.
On the list.
But talk about that, because that's amazing. That really is amazing.
Yeah, so it started Run Free started in 2016, I guess. But to support, when I got off active duty in 2017, I decided I was going to run across country. As any great idea, got it from somebody else, stole it from somebody else, met someone who did it and thought, oh, okay, that looks easy enough. I'll do it. She's still a friend today. I just talked to her today. She's the one who did the art she's doing the art for the cover of the book.
Which is beautiful, by the way. Sorry.
She's very talented, but it was one of those things, like, I met her, ran with her for 25 miles or so. And it was like, just instant, like, oh, okay, this, she's my running muse and guide. So, I was getting off active duty, single, no kids. Like, I had months, I could save up a little money, just got back from deployment. I had months to spare. So my friend sold me a van. And I shockingly had enough friends that didn't have jobs either. That it was weird. People were like, how do you find someone else? I really thought it'd be much harder, but vagabonds, right? So I had five or six support drivers. They're all still my friends today, shockingly enough. But we, loaded up in the van. National University gave us a bunch of money to sponsor. We ended up being able to stay in hotels, sponsor the shoes, food, everything. Van repairs. She's a little old, but yeah. So we ran from San Diego to Virginia Beach, which I still, one of these days I'm gonna have to look up the mileage, but I think it was around 27 or 2,800 miles in 99 days. So that's about 33 miles a day with a break every week, right? So about every 7 days or so, we take a full rest day. Took the southern route. So we started in the southwestern desert in July, which really quite stupid. And ended up, we hit that patch. We hit a real hot, humid patch in Arkansas, but other than that, pretty good weather, and ended up in Virginia Beach. And it was one of those things. Anna, that was the inspiration for it. She texted me the day after. She said, "How do you feel?" And I said, something. She's like, "Yep, nope. I know exactly what you're feeling. Like it wasn't as big of a deal as you thought it would be. Like you didn't hit I didn't hit the Atlantic Ocean and was like, I'm a changed person. Like I figured it out. Like I ran through all my shit and I'm happy and well adjusted and whatever." And so it was maybe about a year later, I was like, man, I really missed that. And it wasn't so much of like, I wanted to recreate it because that was awful, like running for that far. I mean, it was just awful. Every day was awful.
It's like, that's awful.
Like it felt a little similar to like a post-traumatic stress, like kind of a very light version of that. When I finished running, my now partner came to see the finish, and I just started crying, and like I'm in the hotel just crying, and he's like, "What is wrong with you? Like you're done. Are you happy?" Tears. I'm like, "Oh, it was really hard." And
every
like,
guy's worst nightmare. You're like, I don't know what to do.
Which, I mean, some of it was hormones. For like a month afterwards, everyone's would be like, "Hey, you want to come? Travi and I are grabbing a beer," and I'm like, "Yeah, I can't. I'm actually just sitting on the couch crying." "What? What's going on? What happened?" I'm like, "Nothing. It's just my body. My body just needs to get rid of salt water. I've been sweating for 15 hours a day for 100 days. Like it needs to purge something. I mean, it's hormones. It's just straight up like hormones." And it was like, I could tell, like, I'm not really sad. I'm just crying. It's fine. But it was just bawling. And I'm like, it was so hard. And he's like, "But it's done. It's over. Like, you're done with it. Like, isn't that a great feeling?" I'm like, "No, it's like I just got punched in the face for an hour. When they stopped punching, I'm grateful they stopped punching me.
But something's missing.
I don't feel good. Like it still doesn't feel good." But I mean, you could probably make that comparison to race relations. Like, "Oh, thanks, we can vote now." Well, what about punching me in the face for the last 200 years? So I, finished, and about a year later, I was like, I missed being out in small towns, like we grew up in. I miss seeing parts of the country and learning like the weird little quirks of all these different regions and the weird little phrases and why towns are like, some towns in Texas, there's a whole cluster of towns all named after Middle Eastern cities. And I'm like, what is this? And someone's explaining to me, "Oh, it's because cattle ranchers. There were a lot of Syrian, Saudi Arabian cattle ranchers that came out. So that's why all these towns are called Lebanon and all this stuff." And it's like, "Oh, this is the guy's house. Those gates are Sylvester Stallone's. They were Sylvester Stallone's." And it's like all these just kind of weird, interesting, just quirks. And so I decided I had seen a lot of America on foot, and I had, crossed coast to coast, but I wanted to cross the other 50 states. And so we kept Run Free open and operating. And we are now on a mission to cross all 50 states. I just crossed 18, I do believe Michigan was. Taking a little break because the baby. I'm trying to convince my partner and board member Jordan to support a North Carolina crossing. He does not seem to think that's a great idea at 7 or 8 months pregnant.
What? I mean, that's just crazy.
Well, I tried to do the Marine Corps Marathon and made it about 10 miles before I had to take a nap. And he's like, "You have goldfish. It's fine. I'm not saying you're not capable." And it's like, he's very careful not to say you can't do it, because those are the trick words. Like, all right, see you. I'll see you in North Carolina then. Like, I'm heading out, but he's like, it's not, it's not necessary. We have all the time in the world. But so we've done 18 states, or I've crossed 18 states, with, 22 to go, because real big country, guys. It's a real big country. And each state is dedicated. So it's running, walked a couple, hiked Washington and Oregon. Some of them, are a little bit longer. Some of them are a little bit shorter. It's just kind of as work and family and life kind of allows. And each state is dedicated to a nonprofit in that state. So we raise money for a state-centric charity. So we've done, the last one was farmers in Michigan. We've done fundraisers for Safe Sleep in Missouri. I had a friend who lost her firstborn to sudden infant death syndrome. And so we did a fundraiser for that, for the organization that really helped her through that. I've done, like everything from like food, Alex's Lemonade, childhood cancer, environmental causes. Like we really try to pick a cause that's near and dear to that state or that community, or someone I know in that state that can recommend it. And hopefully we'll finish in the next 5-6 years.
Kentucky. I will say, if you're, throwing a couple of things out there. If you come to downtown Louisville, you can run the bridge to cross over to the state of Indiana. So it's New Albany, Indiana, or Jefferson, Indiana, if you get that to work out together. I'm throwing this out there, so like this is just spitballing. Please don't, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, she didn't take my idea. I will say there's a lot of work still being done in regards to Breonna Taylor, if you're looking for something to run for. And again, that's just throwing, you probably, and I don't even say this facetiously, outside of bourbon, you're probably not going to find a more state-driven discussion. I'm trying to pick the politically correct words, but that. But I'm just selfish. I just want to see I want to see on the map. I want Kentucky.
I want them all filled in, so I'm with you.
I was like, but if she goes here, she could here, and then right into Indiana, and then Indiana could go right to Ohio and be right there. I do want to say, Maggie, thank you so much. You really are an amazing human being, and I don't say that to be trite. I don't say it to be funny. I say it because the work you do is not just admirable. It is something that a lot of people on this planet, and not just this country, can learn from. And to see someone be passionate about something is probably not necessarily new in 2020, but to see someone be passionate about something based in facts, and I was going to throw that in, but still the whole thing is based out of what you have said on your page, what you have said in this conversation, is that it's still about loving the next person. It's about wanting the next person to have the same opportunities as you do. Now, if they choose to do nothing with those opportunities, that's on them. But it's at least we all, and your reasoning behind it was beautiful in the sense of, man, how much better would this country be? What leaders would we be producing if that was the case? I'm just throwing this out here now, and I know you're gonna laugh at me and you're gonna think I'm crazy. Like, you really need to run for office. I'm serious.
You've never seen my mugshots. Plural.
I love it. She's like, more than one. Haven't we proven that is not? And I'll stop. And I'm like,
for some.
I'm like, have we not proven that's not a deal breaker amongst the American voters? Just saying. So I do.
That might be a deal breaker from my mom, though.
Fair. But I will just say that I feel, what you said was just so beautiful, and just saying that, and you've said it enough times, it's like, just to see the next person have the same, no one's trying to give anybody anything. It's just say, okay, let's all start out from the same let's everyone's zero that we start be the same, and then whatever happens after that is whatever happens. But and to put in the words of just how many leaders would this country just generate? It's if you have an ounce of intelligence, that has to make you pause to be like, oh damn, like whoa, like what would stuff look like then? Like even if it's something to what would the Senate and the House look like? You know, what would the amount of doctors we have look like? How many things would be cured now? What would our armed forces look like? What would our armed force leaders look like?
What would our national security look like? How much safer could we be without spending tens of billions of dollars on fighter jets and bombs and
right? And it's like you said that, and I'm like, that is so that like again, you don't have to have like an ounce of intelligence to understand just how mind-boggling that what if scenario is, and how, and not even from a what if scenario like, oh my goodness, like what if scenario of like overcome with the possibilities of limitless things that could be happening right now if that were to go on. So I'm just saying, you know, I'll talk to your partner. We'll figure out what office you're running for, and we'll.
Oh, he would not.
Start campaigning. Yeah. Like, you know, 2024, 2028, be here right before you know it. We'll just. You'll wake up. He'll wake up like, sweetie, just so you know, you got a new job starting today.
Here's your campaign manager. Not allowed to curse on camera anymore.
Let me tell you, before you open the front door to see all the reporters in the front, let me just give you a heads up.
You know, if you could ever convince my partner that I should run for political office, I would actually seriously consider it, because there's no way is he going for that.
Y'all heard that, right? Because I don't run from challenges at all.
No, like, who's this guy? I keep getting these text messages.
You're like, it's a prank. Ignore him. Ignore
Maggie, what you do?
But it is. I love that, and I say that because people have said, at least in the short time you and I have been friends on social media, I've seen people just say some just downright hateful, not just disheartening, but just hateful things. And I hope you don't ever get discouraged by them, because I really feel like the majority of us are just, one, in your corner, but two, truly appreciate what you do and appreciate the things you have done. You know, whether it's defending our country or just in having the foresight to be like, the status quo isn't good enough anymore. And that is such, I'm very careful about people I outright seek out. If I go into, like, if I'm like, okay, I need to go to Facebook, just, I'm like, I need to swing by Maggie's page. Like, and if nothing else, I just like, sometimes I'll read the comments before I read the article, like this, because I'm like, what are they really upset about? And so then I read the article and I'm like, what are they? Like, I'm like, what are you like? And again, I come back to I'm like, who hurt you? Like, who hurt you? Like, how does, like, hey, 70% of the people voted for Biden have jobs, and like, how is that upsetting you? Like,
it's always the Kamala Harris and Ruby Bridges. It's like, here, let's celebrate Black women.
Can't do that.
What are we talking about?
Can't do
it. Whoa, guys! Like, I thought this was like an easy post. Like, this is like an all platform, no matter what.
I told you. I said it amazed. I've said this several times in person, on social media, and here. I don't get how equality, racism, sexism, the LGBT community, I don't understand how it's a debate. Like, because a debate is a pro and con. What's the con of, like, I need you, like, not from an argumentative standpoint, I mean from an honest, as an adult human being, I need someone to stand across from me, whether virtually or in person, and legit explain to me the con of equality, so we shouldn't have it. Like I got to hear that. And it's just, but it's what you said. It's that Rudy on crack syndrome that everybody's like, I'm not giving up.
And that's the thing. They can't be against it. That's why you get so much of the whataboutism and the redirecting, because you can't come out and say, I support. I'd probably respect people. I mean, I wouldn't respect them a lot, but I respect them
No, you're
more.
right.
If you
You're right
came
though.
out and said, like, no, I want to keep this system because I'm white and it benefits me. But you can't be against. And the thing is, I don't think. Well, no, I do think people are against equality, but you can't say that. Like we're in that middle ground where it's not okay to say these things anymore. So you got to figure out another way to say it. You got to figure out another way to say, like, oh, you don't want the projects, or the inner city, or
That's the
are
frustrating part.
pro cop, or you find
Yeah.
these other ways. Yeah, but what about this and what about this to because people can't have that debate. They can't sit on the stage and say, I don't want you to have the actual true equal opportunity that I do. So they choose a different debate stage. But that's not the debate we're having. That's not the debate we need to have. Like, get on the stage and make your point, or shut up. And you don't get to change the subject anymore.
And just because you got on the stage and screamed louder than me doesn't mean you were right.
Yeah.
Like, just because you talked over me and screamed louder than me doesn't mean you won anything. But I'm gonna be quiet. But seriously, thank you so much, and you have been an amazing person. And get some rest, because I have obviously never carried a child, but I've been next to my wife for all 4 of hers, and I spent a lot of time just apologizing for breathing. I joked. I was like, there was one thing I learned very early with the first pregnancy. I would wait to go to bed like 30 minutes after her, because y'all got to get into that, which understandably so. You have to get into the right position. But if I'm trying to sleep next to you and I'm like, one of us got to get up. Like, so learn that. And then 2, I did spend a lot of time just apologizing and making sure like she never got into a car that wasn't like preheated in the winter or like pre-cooled in the summertime. And I was like, I love you, right? Like, you're beautiful. I love you dearly. Please don't kill me while I'm sleeping because it did this to you. I have nothing but respect, because I've said 100 times, as men, if men had to carry babies, every drug under the sun would be legal. Don't get it twisted. Don't let any dude tell you he's tougher. That's crap. That is crap. If we had to do it, it'd be like, I'm going to 7-Eleven to get a slushie, a Xanax, and a Vicodin. And that's literally, that would be a combo. Like, that would be a combo that you could get if men had to carry kids. So,
the 7-Eleven. No more hot dogs and a slushie.
Seriously, it'd be like I'm getting a slushie. Okay, well that's the 3rd trimester combo. Okay, here you go. Like, that's what it is. So I always say, I give credit to you all, because women are built to handle tougher things than men ever will, and you guys handle it with such amazing grace, and much less in a situation that my gender does not make anything any easier to deal with on top of that.
Well,
So
thank you for that. I do appreciate that.
I give grace to you all the time. But seriously, Maggie, thank you so very much. You're awesome. I'm going to stop bugging you now.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you.
And you take care of yourself. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for listening to the part 3 and the conclusion of my interviews with Maggie. Like I said, you can't not listen to her talk about her accolades and even her visions and not feel inspired and not feel something in there. You just simply, you have to. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this, and I hope everyone is doing well. Take care of each other, guys. Like the sign says, do better, be better. One love.